So I'm back again in a random parking lot. It's fall literally in the last 2 weeks. The sun sets at 5 o'clock. My headlights are fogging to shit, so now it's almost time to store the car, and I'm going to be going over all the things I do to the car when I'm storing it. So depending where you store your car, you might need different things. I store mine in a barn off-site, which you'll see why specific things are used. Obviously not required, but might be helpful is I bring a notebook and I write down all the steps and kind of a checklist of everything I need to do so I don't forget anything. And then when you're also storing it off-site, you're probably going to want, depending how long it is, mine I just store it for 6 months, so at that point I can just use a Trickle charger or a battery tender. This is the brand that I use. I don't have it on me because it's currently in the same spot charging my other car. So yeah, they're pretty simple to use. You just hook them up to your battery, run to a cord if there's an extension cord. Hopefully you do have access to an outlet, which you can use this. If you don't have access to an outlet, it's definitely best to take out your battery and bring it home with you, put it in a temperature controlled space, and then use one of these. And a big important thing is steel wool. So I just grab a bunch of it, cut a piece, and kind of fold it together. And then you just shove it into the tailpipe. I tape them up, kind of like roll them into a ball that kind of fits in there. I did notice one of these when I took it out was all chewed up, so definitely works. Another thing I do is I have these windshield wiper covers. I just put them underneath the windshield wipers that lifts them off the glass for the interior to make sure that there's no moisture or mold inside, and that definitely does happen. I've seen it happen to a good amount of cars. So it's great to buy some silica packs, and these are Cedar mothballs, so they don't smell as bad as mothballs do. They actually smell pretty good. So I end up taking a bunch of these as well as the silica packs, and then kind of just spreading them all over the place, on the carpets, under the seats, kind of in some just general areas. Another thing you want to do to the interior is make sure you close all your vents, just cut off the air to them. That's so nothing can get into there. And then obviously if you have any electronics going that are powered by the battery and work while the car is off, dash cams, you're going to want to disconnect those, make sure they're not running. You're also going to want to make sure you give your entire interior a really good clean, leave no kind of crumbs or anything around, because obviously that's going to attract any mice. And excuse my extremely dirty engine, but another great thing to do is to make sure that no pests kind of get into your engine bay and start making nests. You can actually get peppermint, dilute it with a little bit of water, and just spray it all around your engine. When you're using this fuel stabilizer, I totally messed up the video for this, but here's the fuel stabilizer and what I do. More on that specifically later. I also get a fresh oil change. But continuing on, the last thing is filling up the tires. So there's a lot of things you can do. You can put your car on blocks, you can put it on jacks. I've seen people, like what I meant by blocks is put wood under the tires so that there's no flat spots. You can actually get ramps that stop flat spots. What I do is just overinflate the tires. Kind of everyone in the facility that I put this in also just overinflates their tires. So if you're traveling somewhere like me, you can get a wireless air compressor. This is great. This is the brand. It's kind of a random Amazon brand, but this one's really useful. It tells you exactly what your tire pressure already is, and then you hook it up and you set what you want it to fill it to, and it'll actually just do that on its own and then shut off when it's done. So this has been a huge help. So normally my tires, they're supposed to be at, I think, 32 or 34 PSI. So I end up, I think, doing them to about 40 or 50. And then there's a lot of talk whether or not you need it. I think it's probably a good idea just in case. And obviously make sure you give your car a good wash before putting it on, but obviously a car cover. I fully cover this thing. And I also do a detail and paint sealant before. Obviously I have to drive to the place, but it helps save the paint as much as possible. So I thought it'd be a good idea to show these steps in order as I'm actually putting it away. So here's starting off with washing it. Then I clean and vacuum all of the interior and protect all the leather surfaces. Yes, I use a toothbrush on the steering wheel, it gets all the small areas. Then I set up the interior with all the silica packs and mothballs. This is what I use for the engine spray. Then I apply the paint sealant. This protects it on the way up, but also from under the car cover. And then the next morning, that's when I drive up, and once I get there, I fill my tank up to 95%, add in all my fuel stabilizer, and then I just drive 5 minutes to the barn. As soon as I get to the facility before going in, that's when I pump up all my tires. And at this point, the car is in the barn in its spot, and I'm waiting for the Trickle charger to turn on. Then I just pop in my steel wool cinnamon rolls, and then throw on a car cover. So yeah, that's everything I do to put the car away. Pretty simple stuff. It was pretty intimidating the first time I did it just because I've never stored a car before, but it all works out. It's kind of rare that something will go wrong, but obviously if you do the right steps, maybe a little bit over prepare, you won't have to deal with anything, hopefully.